Now we're making a pretty good case for the B2B side. And I know you've helped a lot of entrepreneurs and like people actually either start from zero and get into B2B. Is this something that you can go straight into it? And I'd love to maybe hear
Yeah.
the story of one of your students once they've embraced this power.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about a lady called Kay. She's a really good example. And Kay, her name's Kay Fabella. If you want to go and search her out on LinkedIn, you absolutely can. She is somebody that I've known for years in the B2C space. And before working in the B2B world, she was a storytelling coach. So she helped women who were diverse of background to look at the stories around their generation, their race, and help them to use that to stand out in their markets, to own and be authentic. Really, really interesting niche. And she came to me in 2020 when the world went kaput. Not necessarily the safest time you would think to go to B2B sales, because all we heard in the media was everywhere's shutting down, companies are nightmarish to work with. But she came to me in 2020 and she said, I need to make this change. I cannot keep working with individuals anymore. It's so emotionally draining because you're hearing quite horrific stories a lot of the time. And I want to move into the B2B space. And I said, okay, cool. And she started and she followed my process. So for the benefit of those of you who don't know me, there's a 5-step process, I think, that, or that I've developed that helps you to sell to corporates. So you've got clarity, which is the understanding that you know who you want to sell to and what you want to sell to them. Then you've got lead generation, that process of developing and generating qualified leads that want to talk to you. Then you've got business development, the process of building, maintaining and leveraging those relationships so that you can make sales. Offers and proposals, so creating solutions that meet a need and articulating them well to a client. And then delivery and resell. Delivering a great experience and then reselling to that client so that you don't have to have thousands and thousands of new clients. So she embraced this process, and within her first 6 months, she was head down in lead generation. She decided the technology, the industry she wanted to work with was technology. So she was out there and she was doing her lead generation using LinkedIn. And so she was proactively searching for stakeholders and decision makers, messaging them using the customized templates. And she was building this database of leads and booking these calls. And she decided that she wanted to put a new method of lead generation into the mix that could give her some real solid relationships. So she hosted an executive roundtable. And I remember her saying to me, she was like, but who's going to come to this roundtable where I'm talking about the future of the industry, because I'm just this one person? And she invited big name companies, and surprise, 6 of them showed up. And she had this amazing roundtable and she talked about the generational differences in technology companies. And she created this incredible report from it, sharing their insights for other stakeholders in other organizations to read. And that actually led to her making her first 6-figure month ever. So not only was it her first 6 figures, but it was her first 6-figure month ever. And she had her first 100K month in July 2021, which was huge. Up until that point, she'd been making sales. She'd been, getting the 10K sales, the 15K sales. But this was her first big month, which was arguably like huge. That's an impressive amount of revenue to generate in 30 days. And from there, she went on to continue following the process to build out those relationships deeper with companies like PepsiCo, with companies like Facebook, Meta, Instagram, with companies like Red Hat, the CRM system, ActiveCampaign, so some familiar names here for you guys. And she sold to these companies and she is supporting them with diversity, equity and inclusion strategies. And that's continued. Kay's business is still going great guns. She's had, she had her first multi-6-figure year. She's on track to do the same again. More importantly, she is helping companies that we use every day to make the lives of their remote employees better, to help, during key incidents that we could never have predicted. She was the support for a lot of companies when the George Floyd incident happened. She was the support for a lot of companies when they realized that actually Asian employees were being treated differently because of the media representation of the COVID pandemic. So she has been behind the scenes on some of the major inclusion projects in companies around the world. And I think that is a huge impact to leave.
That's really incredible. And, already you can see that journey is like, for some people, the 6-figure month might not even be in the realm of possibility. And I think for someone like your student, like, she broke that, and now she's like, wow, this is possible. And then you just keep going with this new frame of reality. I think that's absolutely incredible. And again, you spoke about the habits of what she needed to do, which was the prospecting and doing these things to bring the industry together. Again, it's all sounding amazing. And I'd be curious to know, like, there's got to be some tough aspects here. And there's got to be some things that we need to develop within ourselves before we become someone that's qualified and can be taken seriously in a B2B world. Because I think a lot of us might be intimidated to go to corporate and look ridiculous.
I think a lot of us look at a corporate company and, because I've got multiple clients, for example, who work with Netflix. And Netflix are one of my favorite companies in the world. I love watching TV. And they've always said to me, but Jess, why would they want to work with me? And I think, we can get really in our head about being a small supplier or a small business owner. But actually, it's so much better for big companies because as smaller organizations, we can be far more adaptive. We tailor things in a way that bigger organizations can't. And when they pay a small supplier, they're not paying the operating expenses to have fancy offices in a big city in the world. They're not paying for that company to keep the lights on. They're not paying for an expensive graduate program where somebody with zero experience is turning up and potentially delivering something that is a huge project for them. They're actually paying for people who've got the benefit of years of expertise in their area of specialism, who probably are very passionate about it and therefore reading around their topic regularly or listening to podcasts and things to develop, or even taking additional certifications. Again, none of these things, additional certifications and qualifications, are not necessary to sell to corporate companies. But if you are passionate about your area of specialism and you have them, it's definitely a selling point because it's proving that you are doing your own development to become better, to deliver better results. But I think, the main reason that, or the thing that people find tough about selling to corporates is we think we have to pitch them right from the beginning. And I don't think that that's true. We've all watched Wolf of Wall Street, and I think one of the things that people take away from that film is that company made a load of money selling scam things. And that essentially that's what Jordan Belfort did. There's no shying away from that. But if you look at the actual sales perspective of that film, the quote we all remember is the "sell me the pen," right? We remember, and you just have to ask them, well, do you write your name? And they can't, so they have to buy your pen. Now, real life isn't like that. That's not how it works. But what we actually look at throughout that film, if you look at the examples, whenever he is on the phone, he talks to people and is genuinely curious about why they are doing something or why they're not. Or at least they feel that he is genuinely curious. Whether he is or not is, up for debate majorly. But that's what we need to do with corporate companies. When we're talking to stakeholders, it is not a case of, hey, let me pitch you this thing. Let me show you what I've got. Let me tell you how great my workshops or my lunch and learns or my coaching is. Actually, it's about saying to that stakeholder, okay, so can you frame the problems that you're having for me in the context of my area of specialism? So, how are your salespeople performing? Is it good? Is it bad? And if it's bad, okay, why do you think that is? So that you can get as much information about the problem as possible. And then they're self-identifying along the way. Well, actually, yeah, we do have an issue. And actually, that issue is costing us a lot of time or money or energy. And maybe we should fix it. And because you're the person asking the questions, you're automatically demonstrating that credibility that we worry about so much. And actually the stakeholder comes to you and says, well, you've helped us realize we've got this problem. So can you help us solve it? Can we buy from you? What do you have? It removes the need for the pitch. And it helps you, I guess in the best way, sell without being salesy, which is what everyone seems to want these days. But essentially what we're talking about is those transparent conversations where we are interested in other people.